I said before, now, that I haven't been in Israel, in America, for 28 years, and a couple of months ago, the Rosh Yeshiva came over to me and said, Rav Horowitz, you're going to America for the yeshiva? And I said, no way. I mean, I didn't say it in that, respectfully. I said, I have 40 talmidim. I give it 2, sometimes 3 shiurim a day. I don't know English. Now I really know, but I don't know English. So he said, no, it's pikuach nefesh. You have to go. No two ways about it. And then I sat and I started to think, how would I come to America? How would I explain what Yeshivat Shavei Hebron is and what's unique about it, what I think is great about it? And I realized that the only way I could do it is in the context of what's happening today in Israel. And when I realized that, so I had cheshek, I wanted to come. I had an overwhelming desire to come and to talk about what's happening today in Israel. And I know that people, you see the CNN and you read newspapers, but I think it's important to see what's happening in Israel from the vantage point of Hebron. And I think that it has to do with you, as well as it has to do with me. It's not an internal Israeli problem. It has to do with all of the Jewish people, all of Judaism. A week after the assassination of Rabin, there was a memorial meeting of the Labour Party, and it was addressed by a very prominent author, Aleph Bet Yehoshua. He's very left-wing, very, very, very anti-religious, and very talented. Very, very talented author. And he discussed the schism in Israeli society today. The rift, the ever-widening rift between the two parts of the population. The religious right on the one hand, and the secular, enlightened, modern, spiritual left. That's his designation. And when he described the religious right, he depicted them as an anachronism. People who live in the past, for the past, obsessed by primitive religious beliefs, they live barbaric rituals, obsessed by a strange dream of returning to their ancient homeland. In short, a sort of a cultural fossil that should be relegated to the Museum of Ancient History as soon as possible. When he spoke of the left, the modern, enlightened, spiritual left, which is of course the right way to go, these are people who are looking ahead. The past to them means nothing. The sooner it's forgotten, the better. These are people that believe in man and humanism. They look forward to a brighter future, a future of equality, of peace, of goodwill to all. He went on, I'm just saying it in, the gist. He expressed himself very eloquently. And when I heard it, 2 images crossed my mind. At first, I was captivated. He speaks well. I'm also an optimist. I also dream of a better future, and who doesn't? Who doesn't want a world of peace and tranquility and goodwill? And then another image came into my mind's eye. An image of an enormous, ugly earwig. What's an earwig? It's a bug. But it's a special kind of bug. When I was young, I grew up in a kibbutz in the north of Israel. And I had a hobby, growing vegetables and flowers. I had a dream of growing all the things that hadn't been grown in Israel yet. Today, there's almost nothing like today. They grow everything. Now I started growing blueberries, but in חברון. But one of the most traumatic experiences of my youth was the day that I came to my garden. A garden, a big bed of flowers that just the evening before had been thriving, green, flowering, and it wasn't there. It was totally wilted and dying. And I was shocked. Like somebody gives you a punch in the solar plexus. Okay, I got over it, took out my little magnifying glass, started looking. I looked, and I checked the flowers, and I checked the leaves. Everything was alright. It was just dead. No bugs, nothing. I checked the root system intact. Then I saw a tiny hole tiny hole in the base of the stem, in the part that connects the roots and the plant. A tiny hole through which the sap had been sucked out. The sap of life that enables the flourishing and the flowering of the plants, the sap that's drawn from the roots to the plant, that had been taken out. The result, devastation. Afterwards, I found out that the culprit that was responsible for this great atrocity was called an earwig. Something like a cockroach would win beauty contest compared to this thing. It's a really ugly, underground sort of thing. When I heard the speech of Aleph Bet Yehoshua, when I heard his dream of a new Israel that is totally divorced from its roots, from its heritage, the specter of this ugly and dangerous, very dangerous earwig arose in me. And I want you to know, I don't know if you're acquainted with Aleph Bet Yehoshua or not, but I want you to know this is not some deviant philosophy of a far-out author. This is consensus. This is the predominant outlook today in Israel. And it's important to note, the earwig in my garden, he severed the connection between the roots and the plants. The result was dead flowers. No. Lo nova. Nicht gefährlich. I don't know how I said in English.
Like that.
Yes, yeah, I don't know my English though. But the cultural earwig, I call it the earwig syndrome. The cultural earwig syndrome, the attempt that is being made by professors and by politicians, by authors, by the media, the attempt to deny the connection between modern-day Israeli society and our roots, to deny the importance of Jewish history, Yetziat Mitzrayim, the redemption from Egypt, Matan Torah, all of this, they mean nothing. They are non-existent. To deny the special traits that we have inherited from Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, to deny the importance of Torah and Torah learning in modern society. What are the results of this cultural earwig? 3 results, 3 consequences. First, Eretz Yisrael, that was Eretz HaKodesh, still Eretz HaKodesh, has become territories, a bargaining card. I don't know how you say that in English, that's not right. Klaf Mikuach.
Bargaining chip.
Yeah, bargaining chip. Something, I don't have a television, but one Motzei Shabbat, by coincidence, the Motzei Shabbat that there was the Nobel Peace Prize was being given out. We ran out of sugar, so I went to the neighbor that had a television to get some. No, we really ran out of sugar, and okay, so I came in and there was Mr. Arafat. He said, "Sit down, okay." And Mr. Arafat spoke very eloquently, poetically. I don't know Arabic, but the translation was very poetic about Admat HaKodesh Palestine, the Holy Land of Palestine. And when he had finished his very eloquent and very moving speech, our foreign minister, today our prime minister, got up and spoke about the new era, the new economic, global economy in which borders and countries are no longer significant. He totally disregarded Eretz Yisrael. It's not important. The important thing is that today 5 million Jews speak Hebrew, he said in very poor English. Arafat spoke in Arabic. But there was recently an official ceremony that was, in the ceremony they sang Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, it's a Jerusalem of gold. At the time of this, it was a song that came out before the 6-Day War, became very, very popular in Israel, and it was almost the second national anthem. But there's a stanza that refers to Jericho, to Jericho. In this official ceremony, the stanza was omitted. Can't talk about Jericho anymore. passé. Passt nicht. It's politically incorrect or something. Songs about the Golan Heights, songs about Beit Lechem are no longer sung in the schools. Hebron, Shechem are obscene words. This is the first result. But far deeper than that, and far more subtle, is a program that's being a campaign, a systematic campaign by the Ministry of Education. You know who Shulamit Aroni is? So what? She's not important. She makes a lot of noise. But there are people that don't make any noise at all, who are much more important. There is a campaign by the Ministry of Education to make sure that the youth of Israel is not contaminated by the virus of Yad Shemayim Yiddishkeit. Books, educational programs are being revised quietly, under the table, without creating waves in the media. Books are being revised. History is being rewritten. Animal Farm, to whoever is interested. And this is very, very dangerous. This is much deeper than I can even express. But there's a third consequence, and I think that this consequence is the deepest of all. The same author, just 2 weeks before I came, 4 weeks ago, he addressed, I never get this straight, it's some congress or conference of Jewish leaders from America and from the world. I never remember. There's a lot of different, organizations. I get the mixed up. It's not that important. It was leaders of American Jewry and Jewry from England, France, in Yerushalayim.
Was that the newspaper conference, the media conference?
It wasn't. It was covered by the media.
No, at that time there was a...
No.
One under Bronfman.
What?
One under Bronfman. The World Jewish Congress.
Yeah, World Jewish Congress. I think.
It was under Bronfman.
Yeah. That's not my shit. But no, it made headlines. This same author, addressed that conference, and what he said in essence was, from now on, our ways part. You go your way. I don't know if it got here in the media. He said it to them. He said, our ways part. You go your way, we go ours. Up to now.
He mentioned in terms of diaspora Jews.
Diaspora Jews.
Right.
Up to now, we stood in the imminent danger of war. Syria, Jordan, Iraq, Iran. We needed you. We needed American Jewry. We needed the diplomatic help. We needed the lobby in Washington. We couldn't do without you. In the era of peace, you are superfluous. The economy of Israel was chaotic, still pretty chaotic. A decade of peace, we will have achieved economic stability. We don't need you anymore. What binds us? We don't even speak the same language. The fact that we have common ancestors from 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, that's it. Ridiculous. It's absurd. I was quoting, we, the Israelis, are the Israeli people in Eretz Yisrael, and you are Americans or English or French that can practice you live in a free country, you can practice any religion you want. You're the Jews of America, but you're Americans. We are Israelis. There's no connection. There's no.
Now I understand the pasuk. What did he kick? Said Yeshua became fat, he became wealthy, and he kicked. What did he kick? He's kicking us out. Now I understand.
Well, he kicked out the people who helped him.
Yeah, kicking us down the stairs.
When I heard this, they had this speech on the radio, and I heard it. It's astounding. I trembled. I literally trembled.
They don't believe they need anybody. That's what it sounds like.
He is avant-garde. You won't hear that from official. You won't hear that from Rosh Hashanah, from the Prime Minister, because he still needs you. But what he is designating is something that has to be taken into account. What the outcome of what's happening here is that the denial of the roots, the denial of the heritage, the denial of the uniqueness of Am Yisrael leads to the denial of the unity, to the oneness, to the brotherhood of Am Yisrael. This is what I think the most far-reaching and dangerous of all of the results of the Ehrwig syndrome. Early diagnosis is very important. I don't know if it's early anymore, but steps have to be taken. But before I suggest the cure, that I think is the only cure for what's happening, I want to clarify one point. The picture I painted was a dark picture, a somber picture, also totally accurate, maybe even understated. But I don't come from Israel as a prophet of doom. I'm not pessimistic, on the contrary. I'm the most optimistic person I know. So where am I optimistic from? From where does the optimism stay? Optimism is a very dangerous thing. A lot of pipe dream optimists. I had a map of New York. There's even a place called Utopia. You know that? There's a place. There's some neighborhood in it. Yeah. Maybe we should go there and see what Utopia there is. You know, a lot of optimists.
I don't know what Utopia is.
I'll tell you. Yeah, something like the optimism.
Don't you think the Israelis, the secularists, are optimists? Crazy optimists?
Maybe, but I want to talk about my optimism, and I think it's a well-founded optimism, but it's not simple. It's complex, and I think that the key is a song. Not the song so much, but there was a song when I was young and growing up in America. There was a song. My life has been a tapestry of rich and royal youth. Not the song isn't that important, but the concept of life as a tapestry is. We tend to, when we look at ourselves, at our own lives, we tend to isolate the here and now. We isolate a small section of life. It can be very full of light and happy, and then we see everything that way, or it can be, we can be in the pits, down. How do you say in the pits? That's right. Ala panim, he said, on your face, and then we see everything like that. But just like in a picture or a tapestry, in order to appreciate the harmony and the beauty of it, you have to step back. You have to see the whole picture. You have to see the dark spots and the bright spots and how they all interweave and create one mosaic. And also in life it's that way. You have to see and feel the ebb and flow, the ups and downs, and see that there is a harmony. That's in personal psychology, which isn't our subject. But in understanding what's happening in Am Yisrael today, we also have to step back and not isolate this. If we isolate this minute, we can fall into a black hole of despair without any problems, without any trouble. But if we look back and we see that something is happening in Am Yisrael, the last 5 generations, the last more than that, 150 years, there is a process that's taking place. A process that the Rambam, the Maharal call a process of Geula. Geula can be a very dangerous term. We have to know what we're talking about. But the awareness, after thousands of years of this total dispersion, the awareness that we are one people, the beginning of the return to Eretz Yisrael, seeing Eretz Yisrael as a focal point for all of Am Yisrael, for all of the Jewish people. These are things that are happening. This is what's called Atchalta de Geula, the beginning of the Geula. It's not Geula Shlema. Geula Shlema means the breathing of the Torah, of the Jewish culture into this material, into this form. But it's the beginning. And if it's a process of Geula, it's a divinely inspired process. And no amount of stupidity and no amount of insanity can bring to a halt what is inspired by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Maharal expresses it like this: Geula is like a birth. Am Yisrael is being born. What's the first question you ask when a kid is born?
Boy or girl?
Boy or girl? Yeah, that's right. In undeveloped countries like America, developing countries, right? In developing countries like America, you have a boy or girl. In Israel, a half a year before he's born, you know if he's a boy or girl because of ultrasound. A couple more years, you can know if it's a boy or girl 10 months before he's born. But the first thing you ask is how much it weighs. And I know, I'm a grandfather. I just had my first granddaughter was born. First thing, actually, the parents knew. They didn't tell me, so I did ask if it was a boy or girl. Afterwards, you asked them how much it weighed. They knew a long time, but they didn't want to tell me. And then what do I ask them each week? How much did she go up? You know, she gained a kilo in a month. Great, wonderful, that's the best thing. You know, if I come back after 2 weeks in America and say, you went up a kilo in 2 weeks, I'm not going to be so ecstatic. No, that's not so great. If I say, well, I went over a tractate of the Talmud in a month, that's something else. There's a difference between childhood and adulthood. A child, that's what we want. That's what we expect. The child has to grow, has to become big and strong and physical. That's a chalta. In Geulah, that's the way it is too. A birth of Am Yisrael requires, at the beginning, an emphasis, a very strong emphasis on the material well-being, the growing, the physical, the military, the economic growth. But if that's all, just like in a child, if that's all, you know, if the guy is 30 and he's still, I have a friend, he's still like that, he's 40 something, but he's developed more muscles in his body than they have in the anatomy books. I mean, he can control all kinds of muscles you don't even see. I mean, even in Michelangelo, you don't see it. You know, but he's scared. He's an idiot. That's all he does. That's all he's been doing since he was 15 years old. So that's, you know, it's a mental case almost. You know, you institutionalize him, but it's not. That's not the crown of creation, right? So there has to be a transition between youth, in which the material plays a very, very central role, and adulthood, in which the spiritual, the ideal, the ethical, the moral, they play the most important part. Periods of transition, we know, every one of us knows, that the period between childhood and adulthood, you know, we call it teenage, adolescence. Adolescence is it's a disease. It's a disease that's not permanent generally, but there's crises. The crisis that Am Yisrael, the people of Israel, that Israeli society is undergoing today, is a crisis of adolescence. It's a crisis of coming into our own. But it's a frightening crisis. It's a dangerous crisis. The earwig syndrome is a crisis that has to be addressed. What is the cure? I think that the only cure, and it's to me it's almost I don't know if that's the right word. Truism is a word. What is it? That's right. It's almost a truism that what has to be done is education. But it depends what we mean by education. I think that the learning of the Torah, the learning of the Jewish heritage, any place on the face of the globe, and in any way, gives strength to Am Yisrael. But today we face a specific crisis. Tomorrow that crisis will deepen, for sure. We must create a framework of Torah education deeper, more profound and more comprehensive than we have done until now. There has to be a framework in which boys will learn Shas and Poskim, the Gemara and the Rishonim will flow in their veins. But not only that. They have to be Gdolim, they have to be great also in Emunah, in the thought of Am Yisrael. They have to be great in Musar, ethics, in Tanakh. And they have to be geared to becoming leaders of the community. This is the main aim and goal of our yeshiva, to create, I don't know if that's good to create, you don't create, Kadosh Baruch Hu creates, but to raise, to bring up battalions, divisions, which is more? Okay, battalions, divisions of scholars, Talmidei Chachamim, that rabbis, educators, that will bridge the gap between the roots of Am Yisrael and present-day Israeli society, and that will bridge the gap between the Jews of Eretz Yisrael and the Jews of the world, of the whole world. Why in Hebron? What's special about Hebron? Hebron is the root. is the place where the roots are. In Hebron, where Avraham Avinu, our first root, our first father, lived the greatest, the highest ethical spirit. We learn that Avraham Avinu, that was an iconoclast, the idol smasher, 3 men came to his tent, and the sages say that these men appeared to him as Arabs, idol worshippers that bowed down to the dust on their feet. And how did he receive them? With what respect, with what love. This spirit of Avraham Avinu, the universal, the humanism of Avraham Avinu, is one of the trademarks of Am Yisrael. It says in the Medrash, in this portion of this week, that Asuri Migdash Shachanti B'tocham, build me a sanctuary that I may dwell among thee. Says that this sanctuary is not only something that has to do with Am Yisrael, it will bring a bracha, will bring a blessing to all of the nations of the world. It says if the nations of the world knew what blessing was in store for them by the building of Bet HaMikdash, they would build it with bricks of gold. This is the spirit that we try to inculcate in our students in Hebron. It's not easy. The bricks that our neighbors greet us with are very seldom of gold, and it's not easy in that kind of situation. Josh is a witness, but what we're doing is bringing about boys that the spirit, the heritage of Avraham Avinu lives in them. In Hebron, which was the first place of the covenant, the brit between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Am Yisrael, boys are learning what is Skulat Yisrael, what it means, what is the uniqueness of Am Yisrael. In the first place that was purchased, the first place in Eretz Yisrael that was purchased by Am Yisrael, they're learning what Kedushat Eretz Yisrael, not only security, not only as a bargaining chip, but what is the intrinsic value of Eretz Yisrael. And at a time when there's a lot of faint-heartedness, and we see the results, I'm not going to go into this, but I think it's also a truism, it's self-evident, that the weakness, the faint-heartedness, doesn't bring peace, doesn't bring security, it brings death, it brings bereavement, and it brings anguish. In Hebron, Kalev ben Yefuneh, one of the Meraglim, one of the spies, when the spies returned and breathed faint-heartedness in the people, and said, we can't come to and inherit the land. Caleb drew the sap of life from Hebron, and he came and said, Alon, Alev, Yarashnu Taki Yachonu Chala. We will arise and we will inherit the land. Boys are learning this strength, this courage, goodness of character, excellence in Torah, stamina, courage. This is our ideal. This is the students that we are trying to produce in Shavei Hebron. These are words. I invite you, all of you, to see with your own eyes what's going on in the yeshiva. And for me, to see these boys that come at 18, before, not all of you here, Josh asked, where are they today? The boys that came 10 years ago, where are they today? And I think the most exhilarating experience is to see how boys grow and leave the yeshiva. After 7, 8, 9 years, 10 years, they become rabbis, they become educators, and they return. They return to tell us what's happening in all of Am Yisrael and to receive guidance. Just recently, I forgot to bring it, there's a pamphlet. Just recently, a group of boys from the yeshiva, older boys, they went to Tel Aviv. You know about this?
Yeah.
And they began a new youth movement. It's a very interesting youth movement, totally alienated. If I say they're irreligious, it's so much of an understatement that it doesn't even express anything. You know, these are people with 5 earrings in one ear, and kinds of. And some boys went, a small group, and they struck up conversations. There's a great thirst. There's a great thirst. There's not boys that they're going to put feeling like Chabad or something. But slowly, gradually, there are many important people in Israel that are involved in this undertaking now. Slowly and gradually, to bring about to once a friend of mine who was also very, very irreligious, and he became close to the yeshiva. He said, I don't know how to say it in English. Angelomusia nishmatit. Nobody knows what it is.
That's Arabic or Hebrew?
I don't know. Angelomusia, it's a great word. It means like total confusion. He said you have to awaken the total confusion of the soul, which is what's happening. You can look at the youth of Israel today. I don't know about America, I'm only here a week and a half, I'm not going to say anything about it. But you look at the youth of Tel Aviv, you can say they're shallow, they're materialistic, they want to be like America. But if you scratch the surface, you see underneath the shallowness there's great depth. And there's a havoc, there's a confusion of the soul. And this confusion is something that's painful, but it's also something that is potential. There's a potential for growth, for growing closer. The light of Hebron warms and enlightens the boys of Tel Aviv. That's what's happening. There is a potential in Hebron to do even more than that. And I just want to conclude with a personal note. In the tapestry of my own life, I've gone through many phases, but today, when I wake up in the morning and I say Modani lefanecha, I thank God that He returns my soul to my body, I add another Modani, another prayer of thanks. I live in Kiryat Arba, I don't live in Hebron, but I know that in another hour or so I'm going to be going down to Hebron, and like I said before, I'm not always greeted by bricks of gold on the way down, but I'm going to be doing what I think is, for me anyway, it's the most important thing that has to be done today, to treat the earwig syndrome, to create the connection between the roots and the flowers of Am Yisrael, of the Jewish people, the world over. And that's what I came to say. That's what I came to make you also a part of what's happening there. Most people I've found in the week that I've been here come to Eretz Yisrael every so often. Some come more frequently, others less. But I think that it would be a rewarding experience when you come, not if you come, but when you come, to visit the yeshiva, to feel the spirit of Hebron that is being exercised or developed in Hebron. Today, also, some of you were here, some were not, the yeshiva, there's 200 boys that learn in the yeshiva. And 200 boys means 200 mothers and 200 fathers. Approximately. Some brothers. And 200 mothers and 200 fathers makes 400 worried parents. And every year, usually it's the mothers. Not that the fathers are so brave, but they send their wives. They come to me or to the Rosh Yeshiva, and every year, same story. The mother comes and says, "Look, my boy is ecstatic. He's learning well. He comes home. He wants to help me with the dishes." I say, "You're okay? You feel okay? You have fever?" He says, "Yeah, we're learning. How can I? It's not. It's a little bit nouveau riche, but how can I belie the heritage of Abraham Avinu?" Okay, so do this, and he returns to the yeshiva with so much cheshek, with so much enthusiasm. He's developing into Torah. But I have to ask you one question, because I can't sleep at night. Is he safe? Because if he's not safe, if he's being put into a situation which is sakanat nefashot, it's not worth anything to him. The only way I can answer that question halachically, according to the halakha, the only way I can answer that question is by putting myself into their shoes, their place. If I lived in Petach Tikva, Ra'anana, Kfar Saba, Tel Aviv, and I had a boy that age, who wanted to come to learn in Hebron, would I be comfortable with that decision? Would I sanction that decision? Today, this day, I can answer without any problem, yes. It's not simple, but the boys go through training. They are trained in the use of weapons. They are also trained how to walk in the streets. There's methods, there's these Israelis that are training guys in Colombia to do all kinds of revolutions and stuff. I don't know exactly what they're doing in Colombia. I don't keep up with that. But the same guys are training they're professionals. That's what I mean. The boys don't all live in the building. What we're trying to do is build a dormitory, but now they live in different places in the Jewish settlement of Hebron, and they have to walk the streets of Hebron to get to the yeshiva. So they walk free, and they walk with weapons, and they're very careful. Today, I can say without any problem that our instruction, our preparation, I don't know how you say it, but it neutralizes the danger. In another month, in less than a month from today, the army will evacuate 90% of Hebron. The Jewish settlement will not be evacuated, will never be evacuated, B'ezrat Hashem. But it will become a corridor that on both sides will be the Palestinian Authority, which in Hebron means Hamas. And if last week I had to explain what Hamas is, not really, but this week I think it's superfluous. What it means basically is that I don't know if in another month from today I will be able to look these mothers and fathers in the eye and say, your son is safe. That's the reason that the Rosh Yeshiva told me it's Pikuach Nefesh. What we're trying to do is to build a dormitory in the building, so that in one building we will have the Beis Medrash and the Chadar Ochel and the dormitory, so that we will be able to neutralize any danger to the boys. So if any of you can help, or if you can know people who can help, it will cost us about $150,000 to build the fourth floor of the building, which will be a dormitory. And we already we didn't wait till I came to America to begin. We already took out loans and we started to build. But if we don't return the loans, they won't take down the building. But so, if there's any questions,
Do you mind if I do something?
No, they're done.
For those of you who don't know, I'm probably one of the few Americans who ever attended Shabbat חברון.
Hey.
Anyone from outside America, from outside Israel to attend. Right now I'm in the stock market, and my job is to find stocks which have the potential to double or triple and go up in price. And I buy for somebody millions of dollars worth of these stocks, and we hold them until all of a sudden they go up. And it's a very good idea, but when you're on $1 million or $2 million worth of something you think is worth a lot, and doesn't move up every day, that year of waiting until it goes up is a very painful and difficult year. And there's a lot of days where you're very scared and frightened that maybe you've made a mistake and maybe it isn't good. And it takes a lot of personal guts and fortitude to stay on the stock every day. And it's very easy to give it up. It's very easy to be confused and afraid and sell something even though it has tremendous value. But because for one day it seems to be something that people don't like, then you ignore the long-term potential of it and you feel like selling it. And it's a battle that anybody who's involved in the stock market understands. That one day of fear can ruin a year's worth of profits and year's worth of planning. I don't know why I went to Hebron. Everybody asks me why I went there. I don't know why, but I'm glad that I did. And I discovered there are many things I didn't know you learned in yeshiva. Like Ravelli said, people walk through the streets where they don't throw bricks of gold at you, and everybody's carrying. All of us in Shiva had automatic weapons that we carried, and I was a little bit older. Most of my classmates were about 18 years old. They're carrying Uzis or once in a while M16, or some people have revolvers with 50 clips of ammunition and a gun ready to be used, and everybody's trained and knows how to use it. And the instructions are never shoot to wound, always shoot to kill. And there are times when you feel you hear the stones being thrown at you, or you see them, and you realize they're just missing you, and you've got a gun, and you can defend yourself very well. And the thing the yeshiva taught me, and everybody else there, which was the most incredible thing, was the power not to fight back, and the power not to escalate, and the power to walk away from something like that. The belief that this is ours and we don't need to fight, we don't need to kill, we can maintain a level of civility and a level of self-confidence and know what is ours, and not fall to a level of animalistic behavior. The ability to hold one's emotions because there's an understanding of what it is, of who we are and where we come from. When you see 18-year-olds who can hold their tempers and behave like adults like that, that's an incredible thing for anybody to teach someone, especially in such a frightening place at such a frightening time. It's not just a place to learn Gemara, which can be taught anywhere. It's a place to learn how to be a human being and how to cope in a world which is very frightening, where we are very close to achieving a long-term goal, but these are frightening days, and it's very easy to give up very good long-term things because of the day of fear. The yeshiva is located in downtown חברון, and we see the Arabs every day. And if the Bachram there learn how to deal with our worst enemies, the Arabs, and deal with them with civility and peace and hold their temper, then when they leave yeshiva, they certainly have an incredible ability to deal with their fellow Jews who may have some differences, but not the types of differences we have with the Arabs. That they are certainly more equipped than others to be leaders and to have the patience and the self-confidence to accept the insults from the other side and continue to smile, continue to act like men. And if we have leaders coming from somewhere, leaders for the right or for what Zionism really is, then they're coming from places like חברון, where there's an opportunity to become closer to Avraham Avinu and to become closer to where Jewish heritage began, and also a place where there is the ability to overcome short-term emotion and act, the way a person should act. I think that Hebron may be unique in that combination of both terrific educators like Ravelli and others, and Segula being in Hebron, where the milk of kindness flows from where it first flowed. That it is an experience that it's a shame that more Americans don't have the chance to experience, more Canadians. And it's also, the city of Avraham Avinu. It's also the city of the Imaot, of the mothers. And Melanie and I, we lost our mother some years ago, and it was one of the reasons I went to Hebron was to learn for a year. B'zchut our mother to Neshama Sh'dat Aliyah. And unfortunately, we lost our grandmother last year. And I don't know that I can take a year off to learn for her right now, although I'd like to. But Melanie and I, or about half of Melanie and myself, I'd like to make a donation to Yeshiva of what a year's tuition would have been for myself. That at least that school would be there, maybe somebody else would learn in my place. And I would encourage others to, I told everybody there's I didn't expect anybody to make a contribution tonight. I wanted you to come to hear Ravelli and to realize how lucky I am to have someone like that as a Rav. That if anyone else is moved to help out Yeshiva, I would be grateful. And to spread the word that this is a place where we're investing in Israel's future. That would be very helpful. last week's Haftorah. So it begins with, it tells that God gave wisdom to Shlomo. In the next line it says that Shlomo made peace with Aaron Melech. A greater proof that those who learn Torah are able to make a real and lasting peace, and the peace which Shlomo made, was a peace which allowed them to continue the building of Eretz Israel and the strengthening of Eretz Israel, not a peace which was a weakening of Eretz Israel. And that chokmah is, in my belief, at least being taught in Hebron. And I want to thank Rabbi Emily for coming. I thank him for all he's done for me and for what he and the Yeshiva continue to do for the Bachman and for all of Israel.
From the Safid or from within the Green Line or from within you? And this group, small number formed in Tel Aviv, is there any indication what the numbers are? Either yeshiva students are that formed it, or what kind of a membership it has now? Or
the yeshiva students that formed it, there are about 5. But the membership is somewhere about 100. And there are regular meetings, in which it's not exactly, it's not that they're all Chozer B'Teshuvah. It's a slow process, but there already have been 3 large meetings. They've been addressed by he's famous in America, but he's very big rabbi in Israel, Rav Moti Elon. He's personality.
Is that Nachum Elon's son?
Yeah, it's one of the sons. He has a couple sons. Each of them has his own and Bayer's life in Rosh Yeshiva, and it's a very interesting program. It's something. It's sort of I look at it as a shoot. Something that it will develop. It will for sure develop. I forgot. I wanted to bring. I had a brochure. They've already put out 2 pamphlets that the contributors were boys and girls in the movement. It's totally secular, and it's fascinating what they write, what their experience, what they are experiencing. It's moving. It's interesting and it's moving. It's the beginning. It has to be done without pressure, without coercion. But it's being done.
Also, we've got a lot of cookies left.
Fruit cookies left.